Hey, it's Patrick from JMP Cycles, and we're going to talk about how you can make your bike fit you. And these concepts are basically going to be overarching concepts that will kind of fit with any kind of bike, probably a little more specifically cruisers, but these are things you can do to any bike to make that bike fit you better. And we've chosen these two Sportsters here to show you because they have the same frame, but they're very, very different looking and feeling bikes. They would fit you completely different, but they're both built off the same frame, but they're quite a bit different when it comes to fit and feel. And what we're going to do is we'll start with some of the easier things you can do all the way up into some of the little bit tougher things you can do, although all of them are all doable in your own garage pretty easily. The first thing I want to talk about is a seat. It's the easiest thing you can change, and it can be one of the biggest factors in how a bike fits and feels to you. So a seat like this right here, it's a little bit thicker, so it's going to fit a little bit taller. But say if you're a shorter person, you can get a lower profile seat, something thinner, and it will actually put you closer to the ground and closer to your controls. Whether it be mid controls or forward controls, if you have a thinner seat, you're going to get a little bit closer to your controls and feel a little bit more in control of the bike. Also, seat companies make what they call further forward seats, meaning a seat like this would have more fill and bring it out up in here, pushing you further forward on the bike. Again, if you're a short person, short-armed, short-legged like myself, a further forward seat is going to push you farther on the bike. Whereas if you had a flatter seat, if you had a little bit flatter seat, you could, if you're a longer-legged person, you could move back a little farther on the bike. You wouldn't feel so cramped. The next thing would be rear suspension. If you're a shorter person, again, you can get a shorter shock, bring you down to the ground a little bit more, get you feeling a little bit more stable, or you could put a lowering kit on the bike, lower it down. Or if you're a taller person, you want to stretch it out a little bit, put some tall shocks on there. Now, that is going to affect the handling of the bike one way or another, but adjusting your suspension is another way you can get the bike to fit you a little bit better. Now, let's move on to controls. We kind of mentioned with the seat, reaching the controls a little bit easier. Now, I prefer mid controls on a bike like on the Hooligan bike here. This is actually an aftermarket set of mid controls from TC Brothers. But if you want your feet underneath you, like I do, I feel like you have a little bit more control with the bike. Also, I'm short-legged. Getting forward controls on a bike, especially at highway speeds, can make you feel like your legs are gonna blow off of the bike, make you kind of like tense up a little more. So if you're short-legged, or if you kind of want more of an aggressive stance on the bike, I'd recommend something like a mid control over here. If you have really long legs, or you just want to stretch out, something like a forward control is going to make you feel a little bit more comfortable. If you're real tall, they make what's called a further forward control, or they make forward control extension kits that will actually extend you out another inch or two on forward controls. And they have those for Softails and Dynas and Sportsters. You can really get your feet stretched out there. So with the floorboard, you're probably not going to need that many options, even though you don't have that many available to you, because you really don't need to move the board. You can move your foot around on the board. But the options you will have with a floorboard is getting an extended brake pedal, or moving your shifter up or down, or getting rid of the heel-toe shifter. You got some options you have floorboards as far as like where to move your feet. Now, the next thing may make the biggest change, and that's handlebars. People always kind of go there first. You can make some adjustments with seats and controls and that, but everybody always kind of gravitates to handlebars because it kind of affects your back and your arms and how comfortable you are on the bike. Now, you can do a couple of things. If you don't want to make a huge wholesale change, you can just change risers on a bike. As you can see right here, a bike like this with these bars, this has about a 6-inch riser on it, and that's going to feel totally different than if it had a 1-inch riser on it. You're going to go from up here to kind of down here with a 1-inch riser. So you can use your stock bars and just change the riser. The other thing you could do to change the feel of a bike like this is to put a pullback riser on it. Instead of having just a 6-inch riser here, this is a 6-inch riser with a pullback. It's going to bring it back closer to you. Where a bike like this, it's more aggressive. It has more of an aggressive stance to it. It's got mid controls, has a flat seat, obviously very racy. We got these bars way down here on the top triple clamp. We have a nice wide stance. Even though it has a real short set of risers, I have this upright seating position because of my tall shocks, because of my mid controls, flat seat. It puts me right over the top of these bars, in an aggressive race bike stance where I want to be. As if I had some sort of like bar on the other bike that brought me way back, this would be kind of weird. I'd feel kind of out of balance. So once again, my controls are kind of working together, have kind of an aggressive stance with the bike, have a mid control, and these, wide racy handlebars. Like I said, both of these bikes are built on the same frame, but they have drastically different stances. But if you don't want to change risers, if you want to make a bigger change, you could use, say if you have a small riser, you could use that riser and put like an ape hanger on it, or put a big tall set of risers and a T-bar on it. basically you're choosing a different way to skin the same cat. So if you say you put a big T-bar on this, big tall risers, club style bars that are coming out to here, or if you had a small riser with an ape hanger like this, it's just about getting those bars where you feel the most comfortable. And that's not just height. You're gonna wanna pay attention to what's called the pullback in the bar, which is how much this comes back to you and how much these tip back in, because that's really gonna change the feel of it. If you have a bar that's straight across or a bar that's coming back to you, that's really gonna affect your shoulders and your hand position on the bike. So those are some easy ways that you can fit your bike to you, make it feel a little more comfortable. Something I do wanna touch on, more comfortable does not mean better handling. A lot of people get that conflated a lot of times, whereas they get handlebars are a great example. They get a tall set of bars, set of ape hangers, and they put the forward controls on there and they sit back in a cushy seat, and that may be comfortable, but that's actually not a better handling motorcycle. So if you look at race bikes, most race bikes have low risers and the handlebars. Even road race bikes, they have clip-ons, they have them down here so they can have better control of the bike. So while you may be fitting the bike to you to feel a little more comfortable, you may be having an adverse effect on the handling of the motorcycle. So there's something to keep in mind, that comfort doesn't necessarily mean better performance. And a lot of times those things do not go hand in hand, so you have to make a choice about how you want your motorcycle to perform. As always, have any questions, feel free to comment and let us know. Go work on those motorcycles.